And then came a devastating realization, a shift in power. As the energy grew stronger, the cult members began turning on one another. The dark force unfurling with a mind of its own. "We need to go now," Wells yelled, grabbing Claire's hand. The urgency surged as the dark spectacle unfolded, the ground beneath them trembling more significantly. Just as they spun around to escape, Wells noticed a cult member facing the swirling energy. "Help me," he screamed, reaching out as the shadows swallowed him whole. The cacophony of cries echoed in Wells' ears, unsettling yet triggering a sense of urgency. "Don't look back," Ramirez shouted, pulling on Claire's arm as they stumbled deeper into the woods, adrenaline coursing through them like fire. The heart-pounding chaos turned into an eerie silence, as if the world itself held its breath, waiting for what was to come. But the tension reached a breaking point. It was as if the forest was bending under the weight of dark secrets. Branches cracked like bones around them, and with every step, they felt the pull of the cult's dark grip loosening, but it wasn't safe yet. Suddenly, an echoing scream pierced the air, and Wells turned back in horror, just in time to see the swirling rift of energy swallow the cult leader. It unleashed a shockwave that knocked them off their feet, sending Claire tumbling into the brush. "Claire!" Wells gasped, scrambling to find her amidst the chaos. Panic gripped his heart as he called, "Where are you?" She emerged from the underbrush, her face pale, but with fierce determination. "We can't let them take her," she yelled, pointing toward a frightened figure caught in the grip of shadows, a young girl, barely 10 years old, locked in the otherworldly chaos. Wells froze. "Who is she?" "That's the last sacrifice. They think she's the key," Claire shouted, realization dawning upon them. "We have to save her." Without hesitation, Wells sprinted towards the perilous swirl, the darkness crackling ominously around them. His heart raced, driven by an overwhelming need to protect the innocent caught in the grip of a sinister fate. "Stop," Ramirez cautioned, panting as they drew closer. "We can approach without knowing." But Wells charged ahead, propelled by instinct and the fear that time was slipping away. "I can't just leave her." The energy intensified, writhing like living smoke, and Wells extended his arm toward the girl. "I'm coming for you, reach for me." Just as the girl's trembling hand outstretched, the very essence of the darkness seemed to lash out, pulling her deeper into its embrace. Wells' heart raced as he fought against the pull. But in that moment, the unexpected happened. The rift began to stabilize, coiling into a singularity. "What's happening?" Claire whispered, eyes wide as the chaotic swirl shifted, transforming into something almost destructive. Then a voice emerged from the chaos, rumbling and deep. "You desire to interrupt our binding? You think you can just take her?" Wells fell to his knees as the ambient power resonated with a terrible authority. The voice was both familiar and foreign. Was it the cult leader or something deeper? "I can't let you," Wells began. But the darkness seemed to know him, shifting and changing, coiling around him like an old friend. The girl's wide eyes met Wells, bearing the weight of understanding. "You must be the sacrifice. You must join us," Claire screamed, but Wells felt something deep within him shift, an ancient truth, a connection that transcended fear. "What do you mean?" "It's all in the blood," the girl whispered, her voice a thread tinged with innocence and wisdom. "They've always known." Wells froze. "What do you mean by blood?" Suddenly, everything clicked. The years of secrecy, the whispers of unexplained rituals, and the ties within families bred into the fabric of the town. The Order had chosen its vessel across generations. Johnny was just one piece of a grander design. But there was something else. "It runs deeper than we understood," Wells gasped, realization flooding through him like a tide. "You're saying what of that?" And just then, a torrent of memories surfaced, hushed conversations between adults, strange gatherings in the woods, the faint echo of chants carried through the air. It was all connected, bloodlines entwined with darkness. each family a part of the transgression. No, it can't be. But the cacophony took shape, thrumming with resonant energy. The shadows twisted again, and at that moment, Wells understood. This wasn't merely a confrontation. This was a reckoning, a challenge to the legacy that had shackled this town. With a newfound fire, he surged toward the girl, determination igniting within him. Gripping her hand tighter, he glanced over his shoulder at Claire and Ramirez. "We have to end this. We have to change the course of this madness." As the dark energy pulsed and surged behind them, Wells shouted, "Join me. Together, let's break this cycle." Wells gripped the girl's hand tightly, feeling the faint warmth of hope amidst the chilling energy that crackled in the air. "We can end this," he shouted, voice filled with urgency as the shadows hissed like serpents around them. "We'll break the cycle once and for all." The girl's eyes widened, reflecting a mix of fear and determination. "You don't understand," she whispered. "The power wants to choose you as its vessel." "No," Claire yelled, stepping closer, her expression resolute. "Don't let it take you." But the darkness rippled ominously, tightening its grip as if it were alive, sensing its moment of triumph. The cult members, now infused with a sense of desperation, moved closer, their voices rising to a thrilling climax. "Awaken the obsidian heart," the leader roared, arms raised, fists clenched, channeling energy into the fray. In that moment, Wells felt an exhilarating surge of energy, a pulse resonating deep within his marrow. What had been a terrifying darkness began to shift, revealing flashes of memories he couldn't grasp, begging to be understood. An image flickered through his mind: ceremonial gatherings at the old church, laughter shared among family members, the weight of ancestral secrets strangling the air. He saw faces familiar, yet ghostly. Then came the echoes of despair and sacrifice, marking the passage of time. "This isn't just about tonight," he gasped, realization dawning upon him. "It spans generations." Wells understood now. The order was tied to something far deeper than individual members. It was a web woven of bloodlines, rituals linking them under the pretense of power. They had all been mere players in a sinister game, perpetuated by fear, yet bound by an inexplicable bond. Suddenly, the girl squeezed his hand, eyes shimmering with understanding. "You have to take the power, but you have the potential to free those trapped within it." Wells clenched his jaw, determination igniting like a wildfire. If they could reclaim that power, bring light to the darkness that shrouded their town, he might end the cycle, might even save the lives of countless victims who came before. "Claire, help me," he shouted, drawing her closer. "We'll break its hold." But just as they steeled themselves, the cult members charged forward, as if driven by an unseen force. Ramirez yelled, "Hold them back," as he faced down a wave of hooded figures, pushing them away from Wells and the girl. Wells took a breath, steadying himself against the chaos and beckoning to the girl beside him. "When I count to 3, together we'll channel our courage against this darkness. Do you trust me?" "Yes," she exclaimed, fierce determination igniting in her voice. "Okay, here we go," Wells shouted. "1 to 8. With a collective shout, they thrust their hands forward, offering their light against the merciless shadows. Light surged from their palms, illuminating the forest as a radiant force emanated from within them. In that pulse of brilliant energy, Wells felt the weight of hundreds of years of suffering lift. It was the hope of those who had fallen, their spirits yearning for release. The rift shook violently, responding to their defiance, echoing a chorus of anguished cries before it transformed into a blinding white light. But the leader fought back, a malevolent grin slicing through the energy. "You think your light can conquer this darkness? You're merely amplifying my power." Wells clenched his fist, channeling every ounce of resolve. "This ends with us." As the energy roared, the cult's power was met with a wall of brilliance, casting darkness into retreat. Wells felt the spirits behind him rallying for clarity, urging him onward. Just then, From the corner of his eye, he spotted a familiar figure approaching the silhouette of Johnny Taylor, his face lined with focus and determination as he emerged from the shadows. "Johnny, you came back," Ramirez called, his voice filled with hope. "I didn't leave, it was always about this burden," Johnny shouted, bolstered by the realization of his role. "I have to help you break this cursed lineage." He joined them, channeling his own energy into the burgeoning light as the cult leader snarled, desperation creeping into his voice. "You won't defeat the Obsidian Heart." But Wells pressed on, heart racing, and shouted into the chaos, "Together, we will reclaim our power." The energy intensified, energies colliding, a brilliant display of light against darkness. Wells could feel the collective hope of those lost in despair, rising in unity against the vile oppression of the Order. Suddenly, the skies above split open, and a torrent of energy rained down, striking the altar in a blinding flash. The cult members reeled back, shadows dissipating as the chaotic force surged upward in a glorious wave. "Get the girl," Wells shouted, keeping his focus as light erupted around them, amplifying their shared resolve. They propelled forward closer to the altar, and in that moment, launched a final blow against the darkness that had tormented their lives for generations. In a deafening explosion of energy, the light consumed the Order, tearing away centuries of darkness woven into the very ground they stood upon. The chanting turned into screams as the darkness imploded and writhed in resistance. But the unified force of hope shattered the fetters binding them. As the cult dissipated and the energy began to stabilize, Wells felt an overwhelming surge of clarity. The spirits of the lost began to rise, enveloped in light, finally freed from their suffering. Yet, just when triumph felt within reach, the ground trembled violently one last time. "What's happening?" Claire shouted, panic surging in her voice. Wells gritted his teeth as he steadied himself. "We must hold on. We need to finish this." But as the ground split open, revealing the remnants of the foundational darkness and ancient power entangled in roots and despair, they faced one last, daunting choice. The ground split wider, unsettling vibrations coursing through the air like a low growl of a wounded beast. "We need to finish this," Wells shouted, adrenaline surging as he felt the oppressive weight of the darkness below. What lay beneath wasn't just a crack in the earth, it was a festering wound of generations, craving fear and anguish as its sustenance. Claire clutched his arm, eyes wide with terror. "What do we do? How do we stop it?" Wells felt the desperation pressing in on him, but he quickly glanced at Johnny and Ramirez, their faces set with determination. "We have to banish this darkness entirely. We're stronger together. If we can channel our energy just right, it might create a barrier. If we can seal this rift, we can contain whatever is left of the Order's influence." Johnny nodded, spirit igniting as he joined hands with Claire and Wells. "Let's channel everything we have. For the town, for the kids, for Hensley." With their purpose unified, they stood at the precipice of uncertainty. The air hummed with tension, vibrating as the darkness beneath them roared in response, twisting and breaking, sending chilling shadows writhe across their faces. Ramirez stepped forward, eyes fixed on the churning abyss. "We can't let this power rise again. This time, we have to end it." His resolve was palpable, igniting the fire within the group. The earth trembled violently, and Wells cried out, "Focus. Picture the light spilling over everything dark. Picture our loved ones, those who suffered. We're fighting for them." Each heartbeat echoed with desperation, fortifying their connection as they closed their eyes and drew upon the strength of their bond. The spirits of the town swirling in their consciousness. As they held hands tightly, a luminous energy began emanating from their link palms, illuminating their surroundings and pushing back against the festering darkness. Wisps of light cut through the shadows, revealing glimpses of the past, the spirits of children wrapped within the web of darkness tugging at their hearts. With a collective shout, they directed their energy toward the rift, inviting the light to grow stronger. Together, they declared as the brightness surged, pushing relentlessly against the growing void. Suddenly a deafening roar echoed from below, as if the darkness itself were rebelling against their light. The remnants of the order extended tendrils from the rift, trying to claw their way back into existence. Johnny felt a rush of fear as he shouted, "It's fighting us, don't back down." With every ounce of strength, Wells felt the energy coursing through him, vibrating like a heartbeat. Images flooded his mind, faces of the missing, the anguish of their families. The shared laughter now turned to silence. The spirits of the children rose, intertwining with their light, bolstering their resolve. Memories flickered, a joyous birthday party, children playing in innocent time before darkness claimed them. Then came a shocking revelation. The darkness wasn't merely an entity. It had roots, drawing power from family legacies intertwined with greed and manipulation. It's the bloodlines, Wells get. This is the legacy they've held onto, a cycle of darkness passed down through generations. Suddenly, the native chants of the cult members echoed in his mind, and he recalled the intertwined fates of families, both his own and others, ensnared in the misunderstanding of their ancestral history. The order had perpetuated their holds on the townspeople, twisting their shared origins into a binding darkness. Johnny. Wells turned sharply. It has to be cut. You know the truth of your lineage, where this began. We have to sever it to free us all. Johnny's eyes widened, realization dawning within him. I thought it was a curse, he shouted over the chaotic winds swirling around them. But it's just a chain. We can break it if we expose the truth. Wells felt a surge of understanding, bolstered by the impending power beneath them. Let's do it together. Channeling their bond into the rift, they mustered every ounce of strength. The darkness lashed out, yearning to swallow them whole. But their unwavering light began to illuminate the path forward. Find your light, Wells shouted, drawing power from the memories of those lost, amplifying it against the chaotic void. This is not a curse, it's a chance for redemption. With one final burst of energy, Claire closed her eyes, channeling every ounce of love she felt for her father, the innocent children, and the community. We can do this for our future. At that moment, wells of energy erupted forth, engulfing the rift as the group shouted out the names of those lost to darkness, their voices rising to a fever pitch. We reclaim our history. We sever the chains. As their unified power surged forth, the shadows twisted violently, howling as if in agony, twisting and dispersing. Caught in the churning tide of newfound light, the ground shook violently, the tendrils of darkness disintegrating under the intensity of their collective will as the earth began to close in. In a blinding flash, Wells felt a moment of clarity. Realization dawning, a responsibility had been passed down, but so had the compassion to fight against it. Suddenly, the merging darkness beneath began to shimmer, twisting into fragments of light as the rift stabilized, collapsing upon itself with a thunderous roar. With one final burst, the darkness imploded and light flooded the grove, washing away every vestige of the Order's legacy. As the light receded, Wells found himself gasping for air. The weight of consequence lifted. He glanced around, his friends were collapsing to the ground, panting but unharmed. The rift was gone, replaced by twinkling starlight, revealing a horizon of hope for West Memphis anew. But just then, a voice called out ominously through the silence, a familiar but chilling echo that sliced through their victory. You think this is over? The leader of the cult appeared, emerging from the shadows, twisted and consumed, a vestige of the chaos that once held so much power. You failed. The darkness is eternal. It will always find a way back. As the air grew thick with dread, Wells felt the palpable tension of an unfinished battle, a cold certainty creeping back into the atmosphere. You think this is over? The cult leader hissed, his eyes glinting with a malevolent hunger. The air thickened with dread as he stepped forward, a shimmering shroud of darkness clinging to him like an old acquaintance. The order is not just some fleeting power. It is imbued within the very essence of this town. Cut one head off, and two more will rise to take its place. Wells felt the renewed weight of desperation. They had fought so hard to save Claire and banish the darkness, but if the leader's words were true, their victory was nothing but an illusion. "No," Claire shouted defiantly, stepping forward. "You're wrong. We're breaking free from this darkness once and for all." But the cult leader only laughed, a chilling sound that echoed off the trees in the night. "What you've witnessed is only a fraction of the power at play. You may have severed the physical ties, but the essence of the order lives on in the blood of this town. You cannot escape your legacy." As Wells felt a tremor ripple through the ground beneath him, he clenched his fists, heart pounding. "What do you mean, in the blood?" Suddenly, a flash of realization hit him. The shadows flickered around them, revealing scattered remnants of darkness incubated within the earth, a breeding ground for something far worse. Every generation, the cult leader continued, a twisted smirk spreading across his face. Every child born into a family with ties to the order carries a piece of its power. Even you, he pointed a bony finger at Wells, eyes glinting with dark satisfaction. "Me?" Wells echoed incredulously, shaking his head. "I don't belong to any order, and neither do my friends. We will not be bound by blood." The leader leaned forward, the shadows coiling tighter around him as he nodded slowly. "Ah yes, but blood is not only lineage. It is belief, fear, and the capacity for cruelty. You've unlocked the essence of your town's dark legacy, but it's already flowing through your veins." Panic surged in Wells as he pieced together what the leader implied. The order wasn't just a clandestine collective. It was a buried history entwined with the town's very foundation, a bloodline that coursed through every unknowing descendant. "Stop this," Johnny shouted, stepping beside Wells. "You can't manipulate us anymore. We will fight this darkness until the end." But the leader raised his arms, and the shadows twisted with an eerie obedience. "Then let us test your resolve. Witness the rebirth of what you sought to destroy." Before they could react, the ground erupted around them, dark entrails surging upward like serpents seeking prey. Wells braced himself, pulling Claire and Johnny closer as panic washed over him. But deep down, a flicker of defiance ignited. They had come too far to let this nightmare claim again what they valued most. "Gather your light," Wells roared, feeling the very essence of hope surge within him. The spirits of the children once lost whispered in tandem, mingling with their fight, for everyone struggling beneath the weight of this darkness. For Hensley's legacy, for the children. With a fierce clarity they joined hands, channeling every ounce of strength into that moment. Wells could feel the warmth of their unity pulsing like a heartbeat, a force that transcended time. Just then, shadows flared to life, revealing the spirits of those they had fought for, lost lives entwined with love, courage, and hope. "We can't go back," Claire urged, eyes glistening with tears. "We move forward." As the spectral warmth surrounded them, Wells felt the darkness begin to waver. They stood united against the surge of chaos, willing to confront whatever horror would rise from the depths. But just as the shadows clawed hungrily toward them, a shocking truth emerged deeper within the dark essence. Wells caught a glimpse of a child, a young girl hailed from the very darkness, glowing brighter than the rest. "Help us," the girl's voice carried across the void. What struck him was a gut-wrenching realization: the order had harnessed the souls of countless children, not just for power, but as mindless vessels trapped in eternal servitude. "Listen," Wells pleaded into the chaos. "We are here to free you. We will not allow your suffering to be in vain." Suddenly, the cult leader's laughter echoed ominously, shaking the ground beneath them. "Oh, you think they'll listen to you? They are bound to me. They are my legacy, my army of darkness." But Wells pressed on, facing down his tormentor with unwavering resolve. Your hold is weak. This town is stronger than the darkness you cling to. The children wrapped in your game will reclaim their freedom. As Wells spoke, the shadows around him began to writhe, the spirits of the lost rising with newfound strength. Empowered by Wells' defiance, the darkness faltered under the weight of collective love and belief, a flicker of hope illuminating their path forward. In that turbulent moment, the shadows recoiled. No, this cannot be. The leader shrieked in horror, clutching his head as though the light threatened to consume him. In an instant, the embers of unity ignited, bursting into a radiant beam of light that engulfed everything: the clearing, the grove, and the looming darkness. Wells felt power surge through him, illuminating the air as the inhabitants of that mystical realm rushed forward. The young girl cried out, her voice crystal clear, calling to her friends, "Be free. You do not belong to the darkness." And as the walls of shadows shattered, a torrent of souls rose in a magnificent whirlwind. Wells watched in awe as the spirits reclaimed their right to freedom, their light illuminating the night sky until it became a beacon of hope against the backdrop of despair. But just as victory felt imminent, the leader let out an earth-shattering roar, thrashing against the kinetic force resurrecting the town's legacy. "I will not be overshadowed. I will return." And as the light burst forth, a rift opened between realms, a chilling passage threatening to close them in or expel them into an abyss of darkness. Amidst the chaos, Wells rushed forward toward the luminous light, clinging to every ounce of hope and will to reclaim the future. Subscribe to True Crime and Scene, now else we will be gone. Thanks for watching.